Welcome in to the Morning Glory Show. I hope you guys are excited for another episode because the Tennessee Titans are back at home this week as they come off the bye in that first win of the season in Miami on Monday night, and they take on the Indianapolis Colts, who are coming off a huge loss last week, giving the Jacksonville Jaguars their first win of the season. So it's going to be real fun. This is the bad of the bad at this point in time in the NFL. We're talking AFC South. But if you guys are joining us for the first time, do us a favor. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It enters you in to win that Tajay Spears signed jersey giveaway, giving that away at the 1,000 subscriber mark. So we're just around the corner there. And then as always, check out the Morning Glory Show merch down below as well. We got the cups, we got the shirts. Go check it out. But joined by my co-hosts, as always, B Will at B Will TFTV and at TFTV Sports. How you doing today, B Will?
I'm good, man. I think we should there should be a law against air horns before 8 o'clock in the morning, especially when they're getting streamlined through to my ears.
Right? Yeah, they're a little louder than I thought it was going to be.
At least we upgraded. It's been Jake doing it. Jake's been doing it from his mouth for months, so
Yep.
I'm happy with the upgrade.
We're finally in the 21st century, but he didn't tell us he was going to do it.
Nope. Give you a great Kirk Cousins. You like that? But yeah, I threw that in there right before the show started, and yeah, we're off the fly here already. But if you guys are checking us out in the comments, like Chef Rand, Big Dog's gotta eat. Make
That's
sure you
right.
drop those score predictions down below as well. We're going to be talking about that at the end of the show, talking all the AFC South, predicting those three big games. But on my other side, joined always by Jonathan Miller at Esports Valen. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Good, man. Good. Got some awesome news yesterday that the main man, the host here, Jake, is going to be a daddy, man. That is
Congrats.
exciting. Congratulations.
Yep,
Gotta take a
team
couple
girl
moments
dad.
Man, that's so exciting, bro. This is your first one, right?
This is my first one.
Oh,
We're super excited. Me and my wife, we got married. Yesterday was actually our 2-year wedding anniversary. We've been together for 10 years at this point, so it was a little late on the gun for the proposal, but she was definitely there to remind me. And just a little bit about me. Me and my wife, we've been trying for quite a while now, and we actually were told, like, hey, you've got to do additional testing. This probably isn't going to happen naturally. We're going to probably have to go the IVF route. And literally, like 2 weeks later, got the test back positive. So we're super excited. God is
That's
good all
awesome,
the time.
man. Love it.
Appreciate
Congratulations.
it. Chef, man.
Congrats, bro.
Appreciate it.
Let's get some baby emojis, some prayer hands in the chat. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
some baby emojis.
Let's talk some Titans today. And first injury report of the week just dropped last night. And it's a big one because this game could really go a multitude of ways, specifically with the quarterback position. We know Anthony Richardson listed as limited yesterday. I think Anthony Richardson probably does get the start after missing last week. And man, this guy is on the Brittle Bones committee leading that charge as of right now. Right up there with Kyle Phillips. The dude has started 5 games, already 2 major injuries, but that may have not even been the biggest report to come out. We see Josh Downs and Michael Pittman listed as did not participate. Michael Pittman actually went on IR right after this dropped, which is huge for this secondary. And the Josh Downs dealing with the toe injuries as well. This might be a matchup where the Tennessee Titans are looking at A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce as their leading receivers out there. If that is the case, who are you putting L'Jarius Sneed on, B. Will? Who is he shadowing?
Well,
they don't have a one.
Yeah, it's got to be Alec Pierce. I remember what he did to Monty Hooker last year. I mean, it's got to be Alec Pierce. But
How long was it before Amani caught a stray? 7-10. Okay, just checking.
Well, I remember what happened, late in the game last year. But I think he's gonna probably. I don't know, man. I would say Alec Pierce, but then again, I don't think he would follow any of these guys. None of these guys deserve to be followed. I hate to say it. And maybe A.D. Mitchell, I'd say, is the most talented receiver out of that bunch. Downs is in the slot. We're not gonna have Snead in the slot. I think McCreary can take care of that. So I don't see with him really traveling anywhere. He might play to the wide side of the field. Who knows? I think it's a really open things up and let Snead himself travel, not with signing anybody, and that's going to allow this defense to be even more predictable, be able to bring Snead and have him in the box a little more. I mean, sky's the limit. A week like this is when a guy like Denard Wilson is just chapping his lips. He's ready to go because he doesn't have to worry and game plan for a true number one receiver like we've have to face in the first couple games of the year. We've had a number one we've had to navigate with every single week so far, and this is the first week where we really want him to do that. So this defense could really shine. I'm talking 4 or 5 sacks shine. I think it'd be that good of a performance just because of the receiving options or the lack of that Indianapolis is going to have. But if it's AR, it might be a fun game. But then again, with Flacco's not going to have any room to navigate out of the pocket, so it could be even better with him. But it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think he travels with anybody because I don't think anybody's worth traveling with.
Agreed. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't think similar to week 1 against the Bears, they'll probably be in more of those like zone kind of like setup defense where you're doing sim pressures and you just and honestly you kind of have more flexibility in that way too. You can kind of watch and see what they're giving you. But yeah, I agree. I think the Titans, this is a very favorable defensive matchup for the Titans going against this weak Colts offense. They're also missing one of their starting guards. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's not playing. Also, DeForest Buckner still on IR. DeForest Buckner has been historically great against the Titans. So not having him in that matchup is also a really big deal. So overall, the Titans are in a really, really good spot. But defensively, this should be be able to kind of build off of that defensive performance in Miami. This should be another one of those games. And we should be stoked that Anthony Richardson is playing because it looks like he's probably going to be playing. And if he is, then even better.
Jake, did you say the line moved when the Richardson news came out?
Line has moved quite a bit since it dropped. We opened as 1-point underdogs.
Yeah, it's like a 3-point swing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a 2.5 point favorite now for us. So lots of movement on the line already. And Chef ran in the comments saying Will Fries. Right. He is correct. That is the one that is on IR currently. He also says A.D. Mitchell is weak against press coverage, which kind of led me to my answer. If it's Anthony Richardson, I would prefer L'Jarius Sneed on Alec Pierce just because we've seen what he can do to us. He can beat you deep, and that man is their Traylon Burks. He's running deep every single route, and the ball just doesn't come to him unless he's playing the Titans. He's put Roger McCreary and Amani Hooker in a blender in the past. So I'm worried about Anthony Richardson and that arm strength and that just chuck it and fuck it that he likes to do. If it's Joe Flacco, though, I'm putting him on AD because AD is geeked up at the line of scrimmage. That's something he does very well. I'm not the biggest AD Mitchell supporter even coming out of the draft, but that dude can get open real quick when needed to, and he struggles with contact. PK was talking about it earlier this week about there's whisperings coming out of that camp that the guy just does not want to get touched out there, and if he does, he will slow up. And this is a guy so far into the season only has 20 more targets than Jaquan Jackson, who has 0, by the way. The dude,
they almost have the same amount of catches, Jaquan Jackson and AD Mitchell. So
I believe AD has 6 currently for 70 yards, and that's with a 30-yard reception in there. So realistically, he has 19 targets for about 20 yards. So not a lot out there. And I think that's signs of things to come for his future. We talked about it.
L'Jarius Sneed just deletes AD Mitchell, by the way, because the biggest knock on AD is that he, like you said, Jake, his contact. Like you watched him in college. Whenever he got bumped and he had really aggressive corner play, he just quit on a play straight up. Like that was the one knock on AD where it was just like people worried about his effort or whatever. Yeah, because when he gets bumped and someone gets aggressive and jaws with him, then he just thinks that he can kind of just like pout, and then the refs will just like give him contact flags. I don't know. So if you want to just delete AD Mitchell from the universe, you just put L'Jarius Sneed on him. But I don't know that he's that big of a factor in that way. I mean, Denard might decide that he is, but something tells me that we're going to get more of this, like Denard's going to be able to get a little bit more creative and move Legarius around. Might even send Legarius a couple times. Spags did that with him on the Chiefs a couple times, and he had several sacks in some of his bigger years. So I wouldn't be surprised if he dialed that up. But yeah, overall, this Colts offensive, it's fun. It's funny, right? Because a part of me, the way that I want to respond is that I want to say, uh-oh, here we go. Like, this is a get right game. Like, Josh Downs is going to catch he's going to catch 8 balls for 130 yards. But this is not the same Titans defense that we've been seeing either. And they've kind of proven that through the first 4 games. So it's really interesting. I want to be like, oh, this is how we predict Colts Titans games. We lose games we shouldn't. They play us super hard, even when they're not, I want to say all these things, but realistically, this truly is a different team, not necessarily for the better in some ways, offensively. But yeah, kind of strange to evaluate at this point.
Definitely. And I think it's a note of just talking about this Denard Wilson defense. I saw a graph that came out earlier this week. Through 5 weeks, the Titans are second in the NFL in percentages of just cover 4. So going into the season, I don't know. We thought this might be a little bit more versatile. We'd see cover 3, cover 2, but primarily we would be relying on that press man at the line of scrimmage. And Denard Wilson has kind of shown us that, hey, I'm going to play the matchup. And we talked about it. We're probably going to be very blitz heavy. It hasn't been that to that point, but at the same time, we're not facing these premier quarterbacks early into the season. And it's more so, hey, let's bend, not break. Let's allow these offenses to mess up their own drives. And that's kind of what we've seen thus far, which is why they're number 1 in the NFL in yards allowed per game at this point in time. So I think Denard Wilson has just proven time and time again of what a stud he is out there, and probably how he won't be here for very long. But before
we move on that, I think he has a lot of respect for Steichen, though, and he realized how good of a play caller Steichen is. Even though they don't have all the weapons they have, Steichen can still put together a dangerous game plan to beat us, and has without. Mm-hmm. So, it's not a gimme game by any means.
No, divisional games never are. And that's the thing. Like, we have to suspect that this game is going to be probably closer. It looks like, and it appears that the Titans have the edge, just based on how the Colts have played. But I know we think that it's probably AR, and it probably is going to be AR. But if it's Joe Flacco, this Colts team still scored 34 points. Like,
yeah, one of the best play callers in the league, buddy.
They lost to the Jaguars, but offensively, this offense can move the ball, especially if they have Jonathan Taylor. Now, granted, this Titans defense has proven really good against the run game this year as well. They've always been good against the run, but this year too. So who knows? Even if JT is healthy, he's been a super factor against us before, and he's been a non-factor more times than not. So again, just a really strange game to call. It's going to be closer than what everybody suspects, but we'll see. We'll see where we're at.
I think JT is probably the best offensive player out there amongst both teams if he can play, which is a big if at this point in time. He was also a DNP yesterday for practice and did miss last week as well. So we will see as that progresses later into this week if we think he's going to suit up or not. But also of note, the backup in Trey Sermon, former Oklahoma and Ohio State running back, also DNP with the collarbone, I believe, off the top of my head. So there might be a good chance that we see Tyler Goodson out there, former Iowa running back, and
Deontay Foreman.
They might bring him in, but by God, they got to bring somebody in, or they're just going to be rolling out one guy. So I think Steichen wants to lean on this running game, and Chef ran in the comments saying, if I'm Indy, I'm taking the Packers playbook offensively, run the ball like crazy and try us force Will into turning the ball over. Yep. And I would definitely agree with them, but it's going to be real hard if you don't have a running back to run the ball. Anthony Richardson basically is the running back, but we've seen how well he does when he takes contact. The Titans were the ones that knocked him out of the year last year in Nashville. If I
kind of knocked himself out, if we're being honest, but
And I mean, he does that, and Will does it too. I mean, we saw Will die for the first down in Miami and get hurt his shoulder. So there's a realistic possibility where we see Anthony Richardson and Will Levis start the game, and then both guys go, you know what, I don't have it today, and we say Joe Flacco and Mason Rudolph finish it out. That is a realistic possibility at this point in time.
For the viewers that have kids, specifically boys that want to play football and want to play quarterback, please have them watch this game as an example of how not to play the position between Levis and Richardson. It's going to be a shit show, boy. It's going to be, you talk about bad quarterback play, it's going to be so bad.
Well, I can tell you right now, I've been seeing some questions floating around Titans Twitter where it's like, is this the most important game from Will Levis's career? Let me answer that question. Yes, it is. Up until this point, this is the most important game, because at the end of the day, he's currently at a crossroads, and if he can come out and have a huge game, clean up the turnovers, and look more of like the guy we expected him to look, then all of a sudden the whole pace and the whole conversation around Titans is completely changing. But right now, there's very little hope that the Titans have their guy at quarterback. And if he goes out there and has another similar game where he's turning over the ball egregiously, things are gonna continue to get real uncomfortable real fast, because something to note, the Titans have their first divisional game against the Colts this week. Then after that, we don't see another divisional opponent, I think, until like week 12. So you just stay 0-1. Yep. And if you find yourself losing a couple more games, which you have Buffalo, you have good team, you have the Commanders, who were supposed to be a win at the beginning of the season, you have the Vikings, who were supposed to be a win. At least I had them winning. Now that's done with. Those are good football teams, better than we thought. So this season can really spiral out of control if Will cannot get this game in particular, get himself his first win of the season, get the Titans to 2-3, which is we get to 2-3 and it's like we didn't even start 0-3. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many 2-3, 3-2, 2-2 teams right now. So this is a huge game. Getting a divisional win against, an opponent who has been traditionally very good against the Titans, get to 1-0 in the division. It is a much bigger game than I think we're giving it credit for. I really do think that.
So and this is not a question for you, Jonathan, per se, because I know you weren't the curator of that content, but for the people that curated that content, what is the difference between this week and last week, the week before? Why is now the crossroads? Is it just we're doing it for clicks, or are we trying to have a serious conversation about Will Levis?
It's just,
which one is it?
I think it's the clicks conversation, right? Like, at the end of the day, you every week seems to be the biggest week and the most important week, and it's going to be the same thing. But where I will say I'm buying into it a little bit is just because of where we are with Will Levis. I don't think that the Colts game is a must-win for the Tennessee Titans necessarily. I think it feels like a must-win for Will Levis because of where he's at, right? Like, Mason Rudolph comes in relief and wins a game on Monday night. Granted, it was a poor football team right now in the Miami Dolphins, but it's still a win on Monday night, right? Like, he got it done, which says, like, okay, if you don't muck this up, then this team is good enough to win close ball games. And so, with all the uncertainty around Will and how poorly he's been playing, I think it matters more that he comes out and has a good game than it does that we actually win, which is wild. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily this week, and who knows, next week it's going to be like, oh, this is the most important game. You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, we're just kind of like, creating, hype content, click content. But I am buying into it's week 6. We don't feel better about our quarterback than we did when the season started, and that is concerning.
For him to ease the concerns, he doesn't even have to be good. He just can't be the worst.
I think he has to be okay.
No.
Well, yeah, I guess
he can't be the reason we lose the game.
Yeah,
sure.
And people will turn their ideas towards him. As long as he ain't loses the game, people will say, okay, he's improved.
That's
easy
true
to improve when you're at the bottom of the barrel. He just ain't done it yet.
Mason threw for 85 yards and completed 9 passes, and everybody was like, "Should he be the starter?" And I'm just like,
"That's the standard that Levis has set.
That's the bar, and it's way, way, way down here.
Yep.
So you're right. You're right. It doesn't even have to be he comes out and slings 300 yards, 4 tutties. It doesn't even have to be that. It literally just needs to be he played a clean game, he was efficient, and he didn't turn over the ball. Like if you can just be there, and that's the worrisome part, though. That's the biggest thing I'm worried about. Is that where his mentality is now? Because you can't play quarterback like that. All right, let's just go out here and just not mess it up. Okay. All right. Don't mess it up on 3. 1, 2, 3, break. Like that you can't play quarterback like that and expect to be one of the best or a top, player in the league. You just can't. So who knows? Maybe we're light years away from that, and he needs to just have a game where he's just clean, and that's all that matters.
The bad thing with him is he's like a volume shooter in the NBA right now, and he's missing. And you can't tell him to stop shooting.
Yeah, except for instead of it just hitting the backboard of the rim, he's shooting, but the ball's going directly to the other team.
Yeah.
I think every week going forward will be his biggest week is all we're going to hear. And that's perfectly fine because it is somewhat true. I've given him and this staff a little bit of grace. I said it earlier before the season even started. These first 4 weeks of the season, I don't think is going to be who this team is. So going through the bye week, hopefully they've sat down, they've kind of recouped. I think Brian Callahan is still learning what Will Levis does well and what he does bad. And I think in the beginning, we've talked about this square peg and a round hole analogy a couple times now. And I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's got some jagged edges in there. It's like, have you ever gotten a key printed in the past? After you have that old key, it fits in that slot perfectly. And then you bring that new one in there. And there's still some pieces you have to kind of layer into that lock before it works properly. I think that's kind of in the stage that we're at this point in time. I think Callahan is a very good play caller, and I've loved what I've seen thus far. I think it's going to change a little bit going forward. And I think we saw a little bit in Miami with them going under center more, using more play action there. It's just unfortunate that Will Levis got hurt. And like Jonathan said, Will Levis doesn't have a win this season. The team does, but he does not. So it is important for him to get that. I do not think this is a must-win game, but they have to find a way to come out 2-2 out of these next 4. And this is the most winnable outside of maybe New England. So if you lose this week, you got to find a way to go into Buffalo or Detroit and come out with a win. And that's going to be real tough. So it might not be a must-win, but you probably should. You probably should win in Nissan because it's going to get real tough, especially in that quarter 3 of the season when you have to face teams like Houston twice, and then you got to face Washington, who has come out of nowhere and looking great with Jaden Daniels, and a Sam Darnold-led Minnesota team. These were games that we thought were going to be real easy wins earlier in the season, and that's just not the case at this point in time. So it's going to get real interesting real quick.
That's why it feels must win, right? Because like you said, if here's the thing, if Will goes out, and that's why I'm like, he can't just have like a, don't turn the ball over type of day. He desperately needs a good game, not only for his confidence, right? But a good game completely erases this cloud that is this literal cloud that is hanging over St. Thomas Sports Park right now. Because if you go out and have a big game as Will Levis, then you erase that major doubt for the most part, right? And you're saying, okay, this guy, he is who we thought he is. He just had a rough start. Then all of a sudden, the confidence of his confidence raises, the confidence in his teammates raises, the demeanor, the chokehold of a demeanor that B-Will has been screaming about for the first 4 weeks, that starts to drift away and go away. And now all of a sudden, the firepower that this team has added this offseason, all of a sudden, the Titans look like they can compete with anyone. And they desperately, desperately need that mental advantage going into this back stretch, because the stretch of games that was supposed to be the easier part of your schedule is no longer the easy part of the schedule because of how well those teams are playing. So that's why this game is so critically important and why it's massive for Will, because if he sputters here in a very, very winnable game, a very winnable divisional game, then this cloud that's been looming over him stays and potentially it gets thicker. And you can't have that going into, the 6th game of the season for the Titans. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. That's why I think this one is so important.
And I think it's of note that this is a beat up secondary for the Colts. They're missing Juju Brents, their number one cornerback out there. I mean, Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd, they're going to be open out there. It's as Will can find them. And that's going to be the biggest thing. We've got to see Will get that deep ball put together. We've very rarely seen it this season, and it's something that he does very well. This is an opportunity for you to take advantage of that. I want to see 4 to 5 deep shots in this game. If they work or not, I want to see them out there because that's when Will gets in his rhythm. Just like when Atlanta last year, we saw that first one to DeAndre Hopkins, and then we were off to the races. He got that confidence up there. And we've talked about how high variance he is, and it's solely based off his confidence on the field. We've seen him come in there dressed down, head down, and he plays awful every single time. But if he is confident, he's screaming on the sideline, that's when that dude is playing well. So,
man, the guy's a front runner. I can't even, God, dog, man. Just thinking about it and seeing it. Oh, my gosh. And the thing is, you know, we're getting to the point where if he doesn't improve, this team's going to be made detrimental. We're going to have to trade Hopkins. You know, it's just, you know, that's the part that really irritates me. And it's not really anything that, you know, it's the team itself or the GM or the head coach can even control. This falls on one guy's shoulders. You know, and it just, that's the thing. Are y'all confident that we'll see that version of him this week? I'm a little more confident than I normally am, but I'll say that.
I'll say this. I think this will be the most cohesive offense that we've seen to date under this new staff. I think they will put it together. I don't think it'll be perfect. By golly, it's not going to be fucking perfect. There's still going to be a turnover out there because we'll do what Will does, but I think he will have his best game of the season. It's not saying a lot, but I think they will put points on the board. I don't know if they'll get 30 again, but I still think it'll look better than what it looked like in Miami. I don't think we're going to come away with 5 field goals in this game. They're going to score in the red zone, I think.
Yeah, I think my body language says that I'm not super confident, and that's just because we haven't seen it yet. But what I am confident in is the stance that I had at the beginning of the season, the stance I had at the end of last season, and that's I saw enough from Will last year in a deep evaluation to know that he can be the guy. I don't think that he's going to be in the mental gutter for this entire time, and I do think he's going to hit a spark and something's going to change pretty drastically, right? That's what I do think. I don't know if that happens that quickly as this Sunday, right? I hope it is. I hope that's the difference, you know, that we see. But overall, I think he is able to put it together, and I think he is going to end up being the guy. I just don't know if that's going to happen this fast.
My thing is, we just saw Jacksonville put up, 30-some points on this Colts defense. If he can't do it this week, he ain't going to be able to do it. He's got to do it. That's the only reason I'm confident in it. Because the defense is not very – they haven't shown – you know, they've given up some points this year.
Defense is bad. They're one of the worst in the league, statistically.
They're one of the worst in the league. So if he cannot do it this week, I don't know what I'm going to say next week, man. I'm gonna just come back and pull a U-turn and defend him and say he's our guy and see if that changes things.
It's really going to be dependent, I think, a lot on this offensive line because the Colts, they do have a okay pass rush, primarily in the interior. Obviously, they're missing a big piece there, but a guy like Grover Stewart, who's going to line up head on head with Lloyd Cushenberry, it's going to be a little bit of a pain for him. And then they got Kwity Paye on the outside. If he is on a MPF or Kwity Paye is athletic. He might not be all technically there, but I loved him coming out of the draft. I was hoping the Titans drafted him. He just hasn't lived up to expectation, and some of the injury bugs have played off of that. But he can definitely keep up with MPF. Or maybe we haven't even talked about it. Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Watson might be out there as well. He's taking first few snaps this 2 weeks.
I think there's a good chance that Leroy plays.
Maybe not so too.
Maybe not start, but I think there's a good chance he plays.
I think he plays a lot of snaps pretty early. I think MPF, it just doesn't have it in him. And then we get to see Latu versus Latham on the opposite side, which is going to be super fun to watch. 2 first-round picks of this year, 2 rookies that have had good seasons thus far. That's going to be really exciting. So can this line do what they need to do? Can they get the job done? Pass pro, I think we got to see an uptick there. But this is a offensive line that we rely on for the running game, and they are not doing their job there either. There was a graphic that I think 33rd Team posted yesterday that Tony Pollard is like tied for third in the league in yards after contact. It's just very unfortunate that he averages negative yards before contact. Dude gets hit in the backfield every single play, and that is
Tony Pollard?
Legitimate. Yes,
Pollard. Yeah. That's a really that's an eye-popping stat. This poor guy is averaging third most yards after contact. Problem is, he's getting contacted in the backfield a lot.
legitimately every play.
And
Wild.
I feel bad for him because he's not used to this.
No, he played behind a great offensive line in
Offensive line in Dallas, so he didn't have to worry about this.
That's okay.
And that's why his hairline's going back.
He grew up in Memphis. It's the gutter on this offensive line. So yeah, for me on the offensive side of the ball, especially in regards to the offensive line, I mean, who knows? This might be a game where NPF gets to play the entire game and he only gives up a pressure or two. I don't know that this defensive line is going to be getting home very often. This is a much better, especially on the left side, offensive line for the Titans than I think a lot of people are going to give them credit for. And by the way, this was always going to happen. The offensive line was always going to have a little bit of a poor start. We didn't expect it to be as bad as it was, but I always expected that this was going to be the case. I think as we inch closer to the end of the year and these young guys get more reps together, I mean, there's a good chance that outside of right tackle, these 4 other spots are solidified. Like these guys just need reps. You know, they're not playing bad. Dylan Radins was the second best performing offensive line player on the team outside of J.C. Latham.
Jake's have crickets behind him too, Jonathan.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Skoronski, we know he's going to put it together. He's had games where he's kind of had his misfires here and there, but he's a really talented guy and he's going to clean it up. So I feel pretty good about the offense, like the trench battle, if you will, on both sides of the ball, by the way. I don't know how well the Titans are going to get home on the defensive side. We assume that Jeffrey Simmons is going to play, but who knows? He tore his UCL, whatever that is. Just learned what a UCL was with this.
Probably injury. Out fishing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I think it's probably safe to assume that they held him out for that reason, that he just needed that extra week. But yeah, defensively and in the trenches, I think in many position battles, the Titans should edge them out. But again, a really hard game to predict and a really hard game to set up, just because there's always that divisional buff where the team that's lesser favored can inch a little bit more. There's the historical factor of the Colts just finding ways to play really well, regardless of their personnel in Nashville. So who knows? Is it going to be one of those games where we win by 10 points? They can all put it, the Titans offense can put it together. That feels possible. And Callie did say, I will say, this is kind of like not off topic, but like a different area a little bit. Callahan said, I don't know if it was in a presser or if it was, on the Brian Callahan show or whatever. But this week he mentioned a lot of the play calling, a lot of those situations were on him. And he felt like he could have done a better job. And there was one instance where he actually explained that. And I thought that he articulated it really well. And it kind of helped me understand, maybe some of these situations weren't on Will. Maybe he did put him in weird spots where Will's just he's just making his reads. I have to go here. Oh, okay, I can't go here. And then he's finding a mistake. But he's saying that it's not necessarily on Will, and he's not doing a good job of reading the defense. It's that the play call specifically played into a poor situation. And he tried to do his best to read through it, and it got him messed up. Like the 5 hitches that we saw, that one play, that type of thing. He was like, even though there were a couple of guys that were open on that, and he technically by the eye test didn't make the right read, but he's like, well, in that situation, the defense was doing this. And if I had a different play call, then that read would have been easier for him. So it's that he wasn't necessarily doing him any favors with these play calls. And that might seem like a cop-out answer. I'm just saying, I think that logically, as fans, we can get upset by when he doesn't pass the eye test. But what I think most fans should consider doing is try to understand the game a little bit further and understand that what we saw from Will Levis last year is still in him. He's still that guy. But now he is playing with an offensive guru or an offensive-minded coach that's now teaching him the game differently. There's just different aspects to the game that I feel like we don't really take into account. So all I'm saying is we still don't know who he is. He's still playing terribly right now. So there's no excuse for that level of play. But what I am saying is that's kind of where my optimism lies and who he can be and why he has to play more games. And if you watch any of the content from the Titans, any of the pressers, then you'll see that from Callahan. He explains it all. And that's a big reason why I like Callahan, because he's very open and elaborates really well and articulates kind of what his thoughts are. So it helps us understand on our side.
Callahan is a really good leader for taking the blame for his guy. I'll just say that. You know, that's what a leader's supposed to do. That's what a head coach is supposed to do. He's supposed to eat the bullet, take the blame, and be able to articulate why. And he's misleading people a little bit. Did he use that 5 hitches in particular? Please don't tell me he used that play.
Not this week, but he did. No, not this week. That was just kind of my example. But
okay. I was about to say, because if he did, he's really misleading the people.
Yeah, he didn't
you don't
say
throw
a specific play.
You don't throw that hitch on that play at that time. So you know you can blame the play call all you want, but that's Will Levis. You know, and he can say that for people that don't really, I guess, understand the intricacies of it and the timing of when things are supposed to click, especially on the offensive reads and such. And people are going to buy that. And people are going to say, yeah, he's right. Will Levis, not all Will Levis' fault. A lot of this is, and that's why I wish I would have said this before the bye week, but I don't know if we had a show or not. But this is a really good opportunity for Titans fans to look around the league and see what quarterback play is. Not what it has been for us, but what it is and what it can be. And that's what you use to evaluate your quarterback with. You don't just – because right now we're evaluating – it's like you're looking at the recycling bin and the trash can and trying to say, well, which one is cleaner. No, you need to go look at the other side of town and see how clean it is over there. And that's really what you can realize, like, hey, this is just not good enough. This is historically bad. This is one of the worst guys in the league. We cannot get behind this. And that's what I wish I would have said, leading up to the bye week, to let people see that. I mean, there's good quarterback play going around this league. And it's just you got to see it,
Is it concerning that Will Levis at this point in time is more handcuffed than a rookie Jake Browning was under Callahan just last season?
Yeah, I mean,
that's huge to me. So
what does that say about Will?
It says a lot. But maybe it clicks. Maybe this is the wake-up call. I mean, his job is on the line at this point in time because we've talked about it and how he should start this entire season regardless of how he plays. I don't think that's how Brian Callahan sees it. This is not a guy that he drafted. It's a guy that he inherited. He chose to inherit him. Don't get me wrong.
That's a stepchild.
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
People got to realize that.
So it's not his baby.
It's not
his baby.
He knows it. He's not Carthon's baby either. Carthon wasn't at that damn, what is that restaurant that Vrabel and Tim Kelly was at after Will Levis's pro day? Carthon wasn't there.
Yep.
Vrabel and Kelly was. Carthon, I don't even think he went to the pro day. I still haven't found that out yet.
Carthon ain't go to nothing. He don't go to Senior Bowl. He don't go pro days. He just sees his guys.
That's what they said. They said Carthon wasn't doing nothing. They said he wasn't doing nothing that offseason. They said he wasn't the GM. He wasn't doing shit. He wasn't doing nothing. I want to know if he was at that Will Levis pro day or not.
He said Kentucky, too far.
Yeah. I don't blame him. It's not the guy. That should have been assigned to Vrabel in.
13 and a half games. 13 and a half games is how many games Will Levis has played.
How many turnovers in 13 and a half games?
It's just not enough. Doesn't matter. He could have 200 turnovers. Doesn't matter. 13 and a half games is not enough.
Yes, it is. It's plenty. 13 is plenty.
Nope, we don't know who he is.
Who's we?
Josh Allen threw 17 picks his rookie year.
How many touchdowns? More than Will Levis.
3 or something like that, 24.
Will Levis ain't close to 20. He's not even close to 10.
The point I'm trying to make is that great quarterbacks aren't great out of college most of the time.
Agreed.
If you give them proper resources and give them a good environment, then you can find out if they are who they are. And I'm saying that we don't know that yet. I'm going to keep saying that until probably like week 10-ish. If it goes the same as the first 3 weeks for the next 3 or 4 weeks, then yeah, I'm gonna toss my flag up, and I'll probably be done. But until then, I just need he needs more time, bro. I promise you, one of two things is gonna happen. We're gonna get to like week 8, 9, 10, and then it's gonna be like, well, I mean, hey, you gave him a chance. You did everything you could. You set him up for success. You bring an offensive coach. You improve the line. You improve the weapons. You improve the defense. You improve everything around him. And he's still not then you can't. It's like, okay, let's go get our guy. I have no problem with that. I'm not trying to be a Will Levis apologist, but I am trying to relay to the world, or at least some odd people that are watching us, that truly, you cannot expect him to come in the first 13 games of action in his career and for him to be the guy. You can, however, expect for him to not be an absolute tornado disaster turnover machine. And that's what he is right now. So all the criticism he's getting is completely warranted. I'm just trying to make the argument that I don't think that's who he is. That's all. Thanks, MB.
Yep.
You're one of 4 people.
We got to see the glimpses, man.
That's the thing. We have to see improvement, and we've seen a very slow progression for him. He has gotten better almost every single week to this point in time, but it's so incremental that it's still bad. You have to at some point in time take that next step forward and at least be average. You got to be the reason that this team can rely on you.
We just got to
because if not, we're going to find everybody else.
Stop the bleeding, right? Like, I totally get it.
Hey, the kid has got a reading test on Friday. We've been trying to teach him how to read since Monday. It's Thursday, and he's still on the first sentence. He ain't going to pass that test.
You're talking about reading. We're trying to get this kid potty trained. He's still shitting his pants out there.
Hey, man, I'm just saying. It's just, that's where we're at. This guy ain't even got to.
Miss Levis? Yeah. Yeah, he did it again.
Yeah. Basically. He's doing that out on the field.
Yeah.
Right in front of us.
Mom, I threw up.
All over himself. He does it every week.
I throwed up again.
But I seriously, though, I mean, that's why it's so important, and if you can, to watch quarterbacks from around the league and see how the game is played around the league. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the comments. Join people like Chef Rand, who what did he say? Something about confidence. There's so many comments today, guys. I appreciate it.
Chef Rand might be Titans content, like the Titans.
He is on every single show,
bro. He is on
every single show.
He does not miss a single show from anyone, not just ours.
Confidence is earned. Confidence is earned in him as well. So shout out to Lumen, second on the like button, who may have also disliked afterwards because we didn't put his comments up there, but we appreciate it. So Bros Network, Sony Keeley, don't tell us to try and understand the game further. We are mad online, which is Titans Twitter in general.
Stoney's pissed. Ojukwu.
Stop. Take the logic and throw it out the window.
Yeah.
MB,
this is outrage culture.
Stevie, BOE, Gordy TV still want to see Mason games with 5 field goals. I still don't want to see Mason games with 5 field goals. Definitely agree. Which
I thought he was about to say Mason Kinsey back here.
Right. Nick Folk needs his flowers.
Shout out to Mason Kinsey.
Yeah, wherever he is, whatever car he is selling currently.
No, hell no. He's close to his team. I guarantee it. He's ready. We'll see him again this year.
Oh, Lord.
He doesn't go away.
Unfortunate. It's unfortunate. He is eternal. He is Mason Kinsey.
How about, so let's have some positive Titans talk.
All right.
How about Titans Hall of Fame, Ring Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, Titans Hall of Famer, not NFL Hall of Famer, Titans Hall of Famer, Nick Westbrook-Akina, getting the recognition he deserves throughout this year and earning it and just still sticking around and being the guy.
Dude,
what are y'all's thoughts on that?
He does seem underutilized, doesn't he?
This is where we wanted
that's the conversation.
Westbrook-Ikhine, though.
That's
You wanted him
we
as
say.
wide
We do
receiver
not
5.
need to use him more, and now the coach is saying we've got to use Westbrook-Ikhine more.
Look, Calvin not getting it done. DeAndre Hopkins, future Hall of Famer, who's he? Tyler Boyd wasn't the guy. Somebody get NWI in the game. All right, that's the missing piece here. That's why we're not moving the ball.
He said we've got to get NWI involved more.
I don't even think we talked about it last week. As soon as Mason Rudolph came into the game, he just unlocked Traylon Burks. Traylon Burks got like the first pass from Mason Kinsey, which I found hilarious. But
I mean, that's that second team.
I don't know if we need to see
connection.
More in WI. Yeah, it is what it is. But we've talked a lot about this front seven versus their front seven. Let's go ahead and flip to the other side because this pass rush, this front six plus Arden Key is very good. So I think we've seen Jeffrey Simmons miss the Miami game, and that was T'Vondre Sweat's coming out party. Best game by far. And as of right now, T'Vondre Sweat, number 4 ranked interior defensive lineman as of all of PFF. So T'Vondre Sweat is definitely showing out at this point in time. So what do you guys, how do they combat a offensive line that is actually very good? Obviously, they're missing that right guard, but they still got Quentin Nelson out there. We'll see Jeffrey Simmons and we'll see T'Vondre Sweat against Quentin Nelson for the very first time, which is going to be a huge matchup for years to come. We're all anticipating. How do they get this done and provide pressure? Because I don't think we're going to see a lot of blitzing in this game again. I think we're going to see a lot of mush rush out there, especially if it's Anthony Richardson.
The question is, how does Quentin Nelson block Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat at the same time? Let's see. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Ryan Kelly, who's at their center, right? That brother's about to get pushed into the atmosphere. I don't know. I think
he hasn't been practicing either.
T'Vondre Sweat is exactly who we thought he was. I had him in my mock draft to the Titans for a reason. I'm taking my victory lap on Twitter right now. Like, I'm literally just like streaking down Broadway in excitement because T'Vondre is the guy who we said he was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time it's like, well, the knock on him is this, or the knock him is that he's not going to play many snaps. It's like he is destroying every expectation that anybody has had for him and had his best game of the season. He's only going to get better. And by the way, he had this best game of the season without Jeffrey Simmons. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? So when these two guys are healthy, like we talked about the offensive line improving over time, watch this interior defensive line improve as the games go by. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, the interior offensive line for the Colts is traditionally very good. Well, they're missing one of their starters. And Ryan Kelly has been put in a blender by the Titans and Jeffrey Simmons many times. So you throw T'Vondre Sweat in that mix and, hopefully Arden Key can build off of the Miami game, get some pressure on the edge, and these guys can get to work. But we also saw in the Miami game, Denard got really creative with those sem pressures and got to the edge and had some guys like, Jarvis Brownlee's really aggressive and fast and really good in the run game most of the time. And he did a good job setting the edge. Roger McCreary, we've seen him do it effectively many times as well. L'Jarius Sneed, also very capable. So I'm really interested to kind of see how this offensive scheme for the Colts goes against that, because really that's the conversation. It's like, what are they going to do to the Titans defense, not the other way around? Because I think Denard is going to be set up in a really good spot for that reason.
Yeah, I think I agree. Sweat's really impressed me, especially with his ability in pass rush. That was a knock I had against him coming out. That could he do it consistently and affect the passer consistently, and he's proven to do that. And that's been amazing. He's been a really great pick at 38 so far. And I'm really excited to see the future between him and Jeff, especially if he continues to trend in the same direction that he's trending. It's going to be a really, really disgusting defense if we could add a good edge guy. I haven't even looked at who's in the coming out free agency at edge. I doubt it's going to be anybody make him amazing, but this defense needs a little bit of edge help, and it could be a really, really scary defense. So really excited to see that. Really excited to see what Sweat does against Quentin Nelson, because this is going to be his biggest test of the year so far. So very interested to see with what he does and how he navigates against Nelson. So
yeah,
I'm
imagine
excited.
taking Rook Orororo instead of Tavondre Sweat. Imagine.
Well, yeah.
Could
Say
be
the same
very
thing about
different out
A.D.
there.
Mitchell, Goodegine,
Let's
Braden
trade
Fisk
up
also
for
have a
Rook
Jackson
great
Power-
Orororo.
Jackson Power John Jones. He hadn't even played yet. I don't know. I don't forgot his name.
Bro wanted him in the first round and doesn't remember his name now.
He's dead to me.
He's a lawyer.
I think you talked about it with Ryan Kelly, how he's going to have a real tough outing. I think Dalton Tucker, who's the current right guard AI generated name here, is going to have an awful day. And I'm not ready to shout it from the rooftops just yet, but I'll whisper it. And I think Tavondre Sweat might be
Jalen
better than
Radins.
Jeffrey Simmons very soon. He might be there.
Wow.
I'm super impressed, and I wasn't super impressed with the draft pick at that point in time. I mean, I was fine with it, but I didn't love it either. And he's proven me wrong. I mean, dude is showing out, and he has that little bit of nimbleness to his game that you don't see out of guys his size. He is a 101 at this point in time in the NFL, I think, for as big as he is.
Is Sweat capable of getting 5 sacks in a game?
In a game, I don't think so. And I don't think he has to.
We've got a guy that's capable of doing that. Has done it.
Well,
I mean, is Will Levis a guy that's going to score 4 touchdowns every game?
Absolutely
he can do it,
not.
but is he going to do it a lot?
Simmons' baseline is above league above average. Simmons. Well, let's not jump the gun. That's unfair to Sweat.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that conversation. I don't think.
No,
but I will
to
say,
Sweat.
Tavondre Sweat can be the reason your defense gets 5 sacks. He can be
that's him. He's the glue.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just a different.
Yeah.
He's a different player. But yeah, damn. I mean, such a good pick. That might
Yeah,
end up, as good as
around.
JC is. That might end up being the best pick of the draft, or for the Titans.
I think the Brownlee pick is going to be I don't know, man. I mean, this draft is looking so good.
Shout out to we got Cedric Gray coming off IR as well. Didn't play well.
Who?
At any Yeah, exactly. Hasn't played well at any point in time through minicamp or training camp, and then went down with the shoulder injury. Full participant as of yesterday, so he's set to come back from IR. Maybe not this week, probably next week. He's got his 21-day window open. So maybe that's a guy that we can see progress down the line as well, and at least offer something on special teams. Maybe he can come as a rotational player for Kenneth Murray and Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones also on the injury report, still limited, though, this week. But let's go ahead. We need to get out of here, so let's hop into these picks for the week. And as always, we're predicting AFC South matchups. B Will, the all ball knower, at first, currently at 12-5. Me at 10-7.
Hold on, my headphone went out. What was that?
What? And then we got Jonathan Miller at 8-9 currently. Mr. Optimistic.
The unball knower.
But we got three great matchups this week. Texans at Patriots, Houston favored by 7, Jaguars, Bears, Chicago favored by 2.5. And then Tennessee, this has been changing. We were 1-point favorites at that point in time when I made this graphic yesterday. We are now 2.5-point favorites. So it is definitely moving our direction. But let's go ahead and start with probably the easiest matchup of the week. Texans at Patriots. Drake May getting his first start of the season. Houston coming off a big win against Buffalo. B. Will, who do you have in this game?
Before we get to this game, I just want to say, y'all see the record. Y'all might want to start parlaying my picks every week and sending me a dividend. I'm giving y'all, I didn't give y'all 12 wins this year. But for this game, Houston versus New England, I am going to say for my Super Bowl favorites outside of Kansas City beating New England, and I think it's not going to be close. I think it's going to be double digits. Like I would, if this segment is betting with B. Will, I would say Houston with an alternate spread over 10 points. That's how bad I think this can get because Drake May starting. It's not the person you want to start against DeMeco Ryans and Derek Stingley and Will Anderson and Aziz and that's not the guy. Those aren't the guys you want to play against. And I might add, is Danico coming back this week? I think it's 4-game suspension. Was it a 4-game suspension? If it was, Danico's back. So this defense is getting filthy. and the offense is able to. They finally found a way to run the ball. So I think Houston by double digits.
What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is not the game that Drake May needs to be starting for the Patriots. I think that he'll probably come out and there's going to be a spark. Everybody knows that in the NFL, if you change quarterbacks, regardless of the opponent, there's always this like magical buff that's applied to the team that has this new quarterback, regardless of who they are. Just like Mason Rudolph got the magical buff. But yeah, this Texans team is very good. Obviously, they played a very grindy game last week against Buffalo. That turned out well for them. But yeah, I would take the points at this. I mean, I'm with Big. I don't know if it's double digits, but the Patriots are not a very good football team with Jacoby. Who knows? Maybe they get that little buff with Drake May, but I think it's still going to be the Texans.
Hey, I'm glad you real quick, Jake. I'm sorry, but I had to say this, Jonathan. I'm glad you brought up that game against Buffalo. Osama bin McDermott should have been fired for what he did last week. I'm just saying. I don't know if y'all seen what he did last week, but it was terrible.
It was egregious. It was really bad. They fumbled that.
I'll say I think Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think the Bills are pretty fraudulent at this point in time. So I almost don't view that game as huge as it was.
They've had two weird games.
Yeah.
I mean, you blow out the Jacksonville Jaguars 41-10. Awesome. Cool. They're the worst team in football at this point in time. Not huge. But yeah, I mean, Houston, I think, is very good. I think they're number one in the AFC South by a pretty wide margin at this point in time. But at the same time, we were talking about it before the show. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender at this point in time. There's also just not a lot in the AFC South at the top.
Also, Nico Collins to IR. That matters. Nico's been looking like one of the best. He's looked like a top 3 receiver in football.
Yep.
You know, Nico has been fantastic. 15, like literally 15 plus targets a game for CJ. So you take that away. Tank Dell is a really good receiver. He's been underutilized, but he's not Nico Collins. Nico is winning. Nico is a absolute gladiator of a specimen, of an athlete. He's massive. So you take that out of the offense. Stephon Diggs is not necessarily that body type either. So a big missing piece for the Houston offense, but regardless, they're still going to be able to run the ball effectively. They're getting great play from the offensive line. And CJ Stroud is still CJ Stroud. He's still going to find a way to distribute the ball. So I'm not too concerned, but I do think it's noteworthy.
Yeah. So I'm in agreement. I have Houston as well. So we're all three in agreement there, which leads us into Jacksonville at Chicago. Chicago favored by 2.5. Caleb Williams coming off, I think, his best game of his young career. And Jacksonville on top of the Colts last week, just like in the graphic right here. Jacksonville, I still think they're probably the worst team in the AFC South, even with the win over the Colts. I just don't see it. And Trevor Lawrence, thank God they paid that man, because I love him in that uniform. And the throwbacks, hey, shout out, the throwbacks looked good. I don't hate the Jags. I don't. It's not the mustard yellow green color rush that they've used in the past. Thank God. So I liked them. But in this game, I'll go ahead and go first and check in my notes. I do have the Bears winning this game. Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, they're gonna start clicking. I think they're gonna start putting more points on the board. And if Indy can score 30 points on them, I think the Bears can as well. So I think the Texans-Patriots game might be a little bit closer than what you guys were predicting. I think this could be the blowout of the week. I could see them winning by definitely double digits at this point in time. Jonathan, who do you have in this game?
Yeah, I like the Bears. I think they're coming off a big win. Obviously, nothing like both of these teams coming off of big wins, but both of them beating teams that are not very good either. So it's kind of hard to say like, hey, these are definitively the guys. This is the type of players they are. But I like the Bears. I like Caleb Williams, starting to kind of put it together a little bit, starting to cook a bit. And again, like they beat the Panthers. So at the end of the day, like we'll see. But I think the Jags are pretty comparable to the Panthers. So for me, it's going to be the Bears. And I think it's by a larger margin than 2.5 points.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Bears. I don't know if it's going to be by double digits or anything, but I think they could beat them by a touchdown. In Chicago. So Chicago's going to be rocking. They got a lot of optimism up there because they won a game or two. So it's going to be interesting to see how Caleb responds to it. Does he get the hero complex like he's possible to get and think he needs to go around and run around like Mahomes? And we'll see. But I think they could beat them by a touchdown.
Yep, and DeAndre Swift putting it on as well. The last 2 weeks, he's looked very good, and he did not look like that against us. So we'll say that, which leads us into the final matchup with Indy versus the Titans in Nissan Stadium. This one should definitely be interesting. So we're going to give a score prediction with this one as well. But let's go ahead. Maybe we'll start at the first one. Jonathan, who do you have in this game, and how do you think it breaks down?
My 8-9 record is beat. You might as well just put like a Titans logo over my face and put a red clown nose on it, because I am 0-4 predicting the Titans this season. I had them in the first 3 games, and then against Miami, I said, you know what? You're not going to get me again. And sure enough, they win the game. So at this point, clearly, I don't know anything about Titans football, so I'm just going to throw stuff at the wall until it sticks. I'm going to go with the Titans scoring 27 points in a win against the Colts. I think the Colts – this is ridiculous. I think the Colts score 17 points. I think they probably score more than 20, but I'm going to go with 17 because why not? 27-17, the Titans get the win.
I like it. What about you, B. Will?
Yeah, Mr. Optimism.
I'm ready for you to say it.
I mean, the Titans are going to win. It's just like, how do you?
I think the Titans are going to win too. Yeah, I just don't think it. I think it's going to be 27, 22 teams. I think it's going to be 27, 22 teams. I think it'll be Titans like 16-10. That's what I think.
16-10.
I almost went that direction. I did, but I think after the bye.
What's the line at? Does anybody know? Anybody in the comments know what the line's at? What's the points?
Really quick.
32.5.
Probably.
Over
it's got to be
total
40,
43.5.
43.5. There you go.
43.5. Wow.
Interesting. So pound the under.
Didn't expect that. Yeah. I'd say 16-10 Titans. That's what I say. Maybe 16-13, 16-10.
Well,
I think they'll squeeze a touchdown somehow.
It's looking like week 1 out here in these predictions because all 3 of us agree on every single matchup, and we all are picking the Titans.
All right.
I have them winning 24-13. And Pittman was a big part of it. I think they will, like I said it earlier, I think this is the most cohesive offense that we will see to date out of this team. I don't think they score 30, but I think it looks good, and I think they score touchdowns. And I think this might be Tajay Spears' coming out party more so than it is Will Levis's. Just the eye test, I think Spears is better than Pollard at this point in time. Pollard has just broken off some huge runs. But when they have the ball in their hands, Spears is much more elusive, and he makes guys miss in the hole. He doesn't average the yards after contact like Pollard does, but he looks good. And I think it's only a matter of time before they start utilizing these backs in the receiving game. And I think he's going to break off a long one here pretty soon as well. Maybe it happens this week. So breaking it down, we all agree Texans, Bears, Titans. I have them 24-13, Jonathan 27-17, and B. Will 16-10.
That's a wild score.
Yeah. And then,
not happening.
Steam Tajay from Stony Keeley, Snow Bros Network in the comments.
Who is eulogizing Ojukwu?
Oh, man.
R.I.P.
to the boy.
I think Keeley already wrote one.
I'm
pretty sure he did on Stacked in Inbox. I think he did.
JT, I think JT as well also wrote one. JT Runke over there. The Hot Read podcast. Check out them, all of 440 Sports. Go check them out.
Sorry for y'all's loss.
Yeah. Leroy Jenkins season.
Yeah. Sorry for y'all's loss.
Chef ran 23-20 Titans. And
that's a weird score too.
28-13.
28-13 is weirder than mine.
Very weird. But we'll see what happens. This is going to be a fun week. I will be in attendance. First game at Nissan Stadium. I fly into Nashville. I fly out 5 a.m. I get back to Oklahoma at midnight. So it's going to be a long day, and I'm hoping it is a good day. But if you guys are checking it out down there.
Where are you sitting there? Where are you sitting?
I'm on the 50-yard line. I don't remember I'm pretty close. I got some good tickets I bought yesterday.
A buddy of mine
go.
hit me up. A buddy of mine hit me up. His brother is not available to go. They have season tickets. They're on the south end zone, four rows up, like row 120 row D. And I am fighting demons. Like, man, I got to make that. I have a card show this weekend in Nashville, all 3 days. So, might have to make it happen.
Yeah.
If you guys are fans of the show, shoot me a DM. We'll meet up. I'll be looking for tailgates and stuff while I'm down there. Come shout out your boy. But this has been the Morning Glory Show. We appreciate you guys, and we will check you guys after the game, if not on Thursday. Peace.